Warlock. Hello, chat. Yes, I know our heads are off at the moment. They'll be fixed when Edelweiss shows up, but right now it's...
Yeah. My head is still attached.
It
I
is.
want to make that really clear.
I am definitely by frame right now. I can... Hello.
All right. Fine. All right. I'm pressing the button on it. Like, it is what it is. I'll make it work. Because I'm not going to feel better about... Like, it's not like if I wait another couple hours, like, I'm going to feel better about anything else, so...
Nope. Oh,
yeah,
the Opus Magnum, is it?
Yeah.
I bought it. I haven't played it yet, but I did purchase it.
I actually looked in my library to see if I had an extra key. Because I know that I've gotten that from, like, various and sundry bundles.
Oh, it's on macOS. Okay, I will actually play this.
Oh yeah, you're like, this is like a complete role reversal now.
Well, it's
like now you're the guy who cares if the game is on macOS.
Because if I'm at my desktop, I'm gonna play Hearthstone. And so I need something that is like compelling on a single screen experience that I can theoretically just like pay attention to solely. And Opus Magnum seems like that sort of thing. Yeah, anything that's Steam and macOS eligible on $10 or less, I usually just get it. So
yeah.
It works out because I actually will use my laptop in the living room, though. Battlegrounds has really made it difficult for any other game to fucking matter.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it. I haven't touched it since TFT 7.5 came out. But I knew that was going to happen, so.
Yeah. Let's see. We're starting to get into mini set timing.
Yeah, I don't know if that was actually a teaser that they dropped today, but it sure looked like it.
I bet. Matt, why did you work until 8? This looks mini setty, but I don't know. It has pictures of all of the... Did you look closely at this? This is a mini set teaser.
Yeah, that's what I figured, but I it's like I didn't look closely at anything because I was too busy yelling at people today.
Yes. Well, in the background of the art, it's all the card art for the suspects in the set.
Yeah, and I realized after I made my tweet that this is actually the Charlie from Always Sunny.
It is
meme. Yeah,
yep.
And
he's explaining it to
idiot.
Watfin.
Yes.
You were distracted. Oh gosh,
I was very
Matt,
distracted.
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, we also had back to school night tonight, so I just came from there. I got home about like 20 minutes ago.
You all did too much. Hello, Lepton.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah. Today was a lot, and I knew today was going to be a lot, but
Hey, Robitussin.
I'm hoping that tomorrow is slightly less.
No meeting Friday.
You're hilarious.
I am. I'm very funny.
Yeah, it's pronounced slightly different than Focus Friday when it applies to me.
I imagine the letter F is still involved.
Oh, it is. It is, definitely. So I did find out that there's like a local game store that opened up like 10 minutes from my house.
Pretty good.
Like randomly. In like this weird like abandoned shopping center. And okay. I didn't know what it was because it has a very generic name that doesn't make it sound like a local game store at all. It sounded like a bookstore. But I guess it's a comic book store too, but they have, I'll send this to you. Like this, I'm hoping to go this weekend. But it's pretty, like they see if it is as advertised, like they have like a huge collection. And I guess they've been like upgrading from place to place over the last few years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Tito, we're just waiting for Edel to wrap up her birthday stuff. and then she'll have the show with us. I could resize the sources, but then I'd have to resize them all back.
Yeah, and that's no point. You just see me, your mouth cropped off and my head cropped off, and it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's all fine. So I finally played Splatoon the last couple
I heard
days.
Splatoon 3 is pretty good.
Well, yeah, it is when you don't disconnect.
Did you see Nintendo's port forwarding instructions?
I did, and they're hilarious. And also terrifying.
This company does not understand the internet. They never have.
It really doesn't.
I don't think they ever will.
It's like Apple in video games, right? It's like they're just like they're going to try and they're never going to get there.
I don't even know they're going to try. They are a toy company. They are not a video game company. They are a toy company. They just don't understand the difference.
Yeah. So, like, in order to do Salmon Run or, like, any of the other stuff, like, you have to get to level 4, which you have to play, like, the main mode in order to do that. But what happens is that whenever there's a disconnect, not only do they, not affect your rank, which is fine, which is good, but also nobody gets any XP for that game, regardless of when the disconnect happened.
Oh, cool.
So you have a disconnect that happens at, like, 2:55 into a 3-minute game, and then, someone disconnected, so nobody gets any credit. So
cool.
That was it took me a while just to play enough to be able to try the mode that I actually wanted to play. The kids seem to be enjoying it, though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Was there excitement about the Kirby's Dream Land remaster in your household?
We're both going to play that and Breath of the Wild. I'm deeply concerned at the possibility of... Did you start another call?
I think that must be bot.
I'm not sure if Ad'll start another call or not, or how it works or whatever. It's ringing Boticus now for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be weird if he picked up, but
All right. Hey, we made it.
We did it.
Oh.
Testing. Okay.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh, I should open up some sort of recording program. That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, my forehead is still there. It's not a 5 head, though. I should probably turn this off then. See, I told you that I had both halves of my head. I wasn't just making that up.
Thanks for holding up. It's the the one day I can force my family to play board games with me. So.
Oh boy.
Like Risk?
She's here now, so no.
Star Wars Villainous.
Ah, okay.
My brother won. He was playing Vader. Very cool.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to have the family stick to cooperative get board games from now on.
Well, the cool thing with Villainous is like everyone has their own win condition depending on the character they're playing. So.
All right.
Yeah, I keep seeing those in Barnes and Noble, but I haven't actually. Well, when we go there, but I haven't actually ever played it.
Look at all these well-wishers.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. I'm gonna crop it a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't even been playing BGs, and BGs is so cool.
Yeah, I haven't either because TFT 7.5 came out, and that was as expected.
But there's so much to do in Hearthstone, Steve.
I know.
Much.
I even played duels a little bit.
Heroic Froliseum and
Oh, I'm not touching that.
Battleground.
I'm not doing it.
The number of accounts that I've seen that complained about the cost of Hearthstone and the pay to win and then tweet their 12-win runs from Heroic Froliseum just gives me such tremendous cognitive dissonance.
Right? Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they have that gold, right? Like I've got like close to 7,000 gold right now. Like I could do it if I wanted to. I
mean,
like,
I figure like I'm gonna spend my gold. I might spend a bit more than that just because I legitimately enjoy Heroic Froliseum. I probably shouldn't do that on stream because I definitely play worse on stream. But I mean, last time I got the mini set just from opening packs.
Yeah.
it's how many Heroic Froliseum runs did you do?
Last time, I don't remember. There were too many.
Yeah. I didn't do that many because I didn't do very well.
If you didn't do two of them, you would have gotten the mini set from entry fees.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. But instead, I just got it by accident in addition to a thing that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. I was not doing very well, and then I just did I channeled my inner TFT player and rolled down to 2,000 gold and then stopped. So.
There's some joke there about your interest declining, but I haven't figured it out yet. But it's there.
That's good enough. It's there. That we acknowledge that it's there somewhere. Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of interest declining, we want to make sure that the people in our Twitch chat are here for a podcast, so we should do a podcast. Does everyone have recording software open?
I've even pressed the button as of this very moment.
Look at you.
Recording.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Starting the show in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend.
Hello and welcome to episode 361 of Coin Concede, a Hearthstone podcast where we celebrate Edelweiss's birthday and also where we're dedicated to making the better side of the game more accessible to you in most to least important sequence. It is Thursday, September 15th on the evening. Mark your calendars. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Nomergon, Ohio, it's the birthday girl herself.
Hello.
Say it. Say hello. That's you. Yay!
Hello.
And from Northern Massachusetts, we have Wicked.
Happy birthday, Edel.
Thank you.
We're gonna make you the center of attention because we know you hate it. So, also, everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. Everyone watching, thank you so much for being here. All you reviewers, thanks for the reviews, and patrons and producers and all that. You're just so wonderful. And there's just so much to do in Hearthstone right now. There's so much to do. I don't know who of you to ask first because I know that you both have interesting answers. You know what, Steve? Go ahead. You go first. Yeah. You've had a day. I want you to decompress. I want to get it out.
I mean, it's going to be short because there's like I've tried everything and nothing's worked. So I've lost about like 2,500 ranks since the patch. It's been a rough week. And now part of this is because I've been playing after work. And I know that that's a bad idea, and I do it anyway. And I know that it's a bad idea because I've been conceding before I should be conceding. And I'm usually swearing at the same time. So, yeah, that's not great. I spent a lot of time trying to get Relic Demon Hunter to work. I believe that it is a viable deck. I also believe that it is like original Flame Waker Tempo Mage, in which it loses to itself more often than not, regardless of what the matchup actually is. But I've played like a little bit of everything. I've had some good runs. I've had some good runs with like Naga Priest. I've been playing the Beast Hunter today. That's been going okay. It's just boring as hell. It's just like I don't need to be in the client to play match the numbers. But it works at least. It's been winning games more than it's been losing. But yeah, it's like I knew that I was setting myself up for trouble when I was basically one-tricking Quest Priest for the past month, and now I effed around and I'm finding out. So I'll get there eventually. I'll probably just spend some time this weekend and find something that speaks to me and jam a bunch of it, and I'll be fine. But it's always kind of like I always get nervous whenever there's a big balance change, especially when there's a big balance change when I felt like I knew what was going on. Because as all of a sudden I don't, and then it takes me a while to get back there. And usually that involves a lot of numbers going in the wrong direction.
Unfortunately, Quest Priest wasn't played for the thing that it did, but the thing that it was reacting to, it seems like. Yeah. I have seen so few rogues. Like, not none, but very few, and the rogues that I have seen have been more like jackpot scam than Edwin tempo stuff, because Edwin's a much worse card. So you don't get to Shadow and ruin people out of the game the same way.
Well, when you lose a bunch of legend ranks, you start seeing a bunch more rogues of all kinds of varieties. I've seen smokescreen rogues. I've seen the stupid Renathal thief rogue, which is, I try not to be salty, but I hate that deck so much. So much.
It is the version of it is Priest with an evil mustache. I understand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's doing the scammy stuff that you're doing, except they get to play card draw on direct damage, which is you don't really get to do that. The latest build, it runs Sprint, which is honestly a great card for that deck because you just get to draw more cards. It's great.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
And I already feel stupid from the beginning because I forgot that Maestro is a card, right? And then it's like, oh yeah, Rogue's a thing. And then I think that and then I go back to, oh, well, it's probably Miracle Rogue. No, they're playing Jackpot. Okay, well, forget it.
Yeah. Edwin Rogue has fallen off in a tremendous way in play rate. It's much harder to win with, and you can jackpot now, both in 30 and 40 card lists, and with meaningful success. And I will tell you, I have done a co-op recently, a session with. I think I sent you one of the games. I think I was hanging out with Ponius.
Yeah, I told you were playing Baron's Priest with
right.
cards. Yeah.
I mean, I think I had a Flame Strike, a Blizzard, an Egwin, and a Blackwater Behemoth, and we doubled all of those, and to win the game as a rogue. It was good.
Though I will say I had one game on stream the other night where I was playing Charge Warrior. I played Charge Warrior for I tried everything. And I ran up against a thief rogue that was running secrets for some reason. And I played my Ajara into their kidnap twice. And the Ajara is there so that you can get an extra to the front. So I was able to play Grom with the location, double Faceless Manipulator, and Battlegrounds Battlemaster, and hit them for about 48.
Oh, because you had two extras. You had for the front.
Yes. It was for the front. Well, no, I think I had to burn one of them on something, so I only ended up using. I mean, after the third one, it doesn't matter because they all cost one anyway. You don't even you basically. I think the only thing that costs more than one after the second one or after the third one is just Grom, which costs two. And then at that point, it's like, well, I'm paying one mana for the to the front from the ring just to discount one mana. That's it's not really a good use of resources. But yeah, 3 was enough to 48 them, and I was just surprised that like, okay, I like Kidnap. Kidnap's great for me. Please go right ahead.
What an honestly terrible card.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this out of my system real quick. Cat. There's a cat. The ears are directly in front of Edelweiss's camera. There's going to be just like a Jaws style cat, just an undercurrent from the camera, just dun, dun. It's gonna happen. So I got to get this out of my system. Here we go. Hello, cat. Kidnap is just. I wanted to be okay. I had dreams of it eating some Morozon Curve or whatever when you were tempoing. The reality is, you know how people complain about Bran? What if you could Bran your opponent's next minion for them? That's what Kidnap does. It is terrible. It is unplayable. It is an advantage for the person facing it. And I think that it's actually better for the rogue deck, if there's ever a secret rogue, to just not run it and have fewer hits than to actually include the card in your deck. It's that.
I think if it countered the battle cry, right? Like if it took in the minion and they don't do their battle cry or anything, I think it instantly becomes playable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually good.
The fact that it doesn't, it's and it's also like it's the easiest one to figure out, right? Because you just you play a spell and then you just like use all your mana one turn, and if nothing happens, well, okay, I know this is Kidnap. Let me go find a battle cry to play into this. Right? It's pretty easy to suss out most of the time. So.
Or you play a spell, you play a minion, you don't use all of your mana, and then every rogue secret is bad. Because they can't draw cards with the next one if you don't let them draw cards with this one. And if it's a Kidnap, you play a spell, then you play a minion that's good for you to get back, and then you live your life. And it's fine. Terrible card. So I'm glad you were able to beat that rogue, but I don't think that rogue is all that real. For reasons that anyone that plays Kidnap will find out pretty quickly that they just want to stop doing that. Edel, what have you been doing? Because I know that having to figure out the meta is actually what you're looking for, and there are a lot of things that you can kind of try right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is sort of a deck builder's paradise right now because, I mean, as long as you build something moderately there and compile it seems like you can win games with just about anything. I've been playing various Paladin decks. I mean, you definitely want to have a way of dealing with big minions, either by just trying to kill a demon hunter before they start making jades, or by being able to clear those jade boards. I'm just going to refer to them as jade boards because that's what they are. Relic DH is basically a jade druid, and there are some variations that have more or less reach, but it's been fun to try and queue Paladin in against that, just because I have access to Pyro Quality or Equality City Tax, and Great Hall is also pretty strong. And of course, there have been all kinds of variations on Relic DH. You can play in Rage Warrior now, and it's not embarrassing. And all kinds of rogue decks in terms of the various 40 card lists. And there's a surprising number of minion summons that you get off of Jackpot. So even though you would think Rogue couldn't power up a Denathrius very well, somehow they do. It just kind of happens.
That is the Renathal Jackpot Thief Rogue experience. It just kind of happens is the deck's tagline. That's what, you just do a bunch of stuff. Like you get some number of Colossal some number of times, and then you just keep getting the same one. Like I've definitely lost to turn 6 double Kolak. Like okay, you got me.
Yep.
I mean, it's like bad improv comedy, right? Like nobody knows what's going to happen when it starts, and somebody's upset by the end of it.
So
it's not far off.
Yeah, it's been really interesting to just sort of explore that. Honestly, it's kind of hard to get a bunch of games on any one thing because I just want to jump to try something else. I think my favorite thing I made that might have just worked for the moment and then gotten a little more challenging into some of the stuff now. I'll have to pick it back up again and try, but I made a quest mage, which had all of the spooky cards. So it ran the location, it ran Cold Case, it ran Deathborn, and of course Frozen Touch. So it actually worked pretty well just because you have cold or frost spells that you actually want to play. I feel like that was sort of the issue with previous quest mages, was that you played frost spells to get the quest done and you never really wanted to play them, except sometimes you needed an ice barrier. Now your frost spells are actually good, and it's more sort of the arcane and the fire that are the things that you have to just get done.
Yeah.
And then once you've got the quest complete, you know, 1 infused frozen touch represents 10 damage. So that felt great. And sometimes you would just beat aggro decks because you played Deathborn, and if you get a good Deathborn against any aggro deck, they just lose. So yeah, that's probably the deck I had the most fun with, and in terms of sort of putting it together and then playing it.
Yeah. And you don't end up with frost spells that you are stuck in your hand because your opponent won't play minions either. Because that was the other thing with old quest mage, is that it was like brain freeze, and like you would have ice barrier that you would play because that was a frost spell you could play without your opponent having minions. But now you've got Deathborn, you got Frozen Touch, you got Cold Case, Solid Alibi. Like you can just rip those whenever you want. So it's a lot. It's
I forgot about Alibi. Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah, then
I remember that card.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier to get the quest done. You're not sitting there for like 4 turns, like, wait, please play a minion, or playing your own minion so you could brain freeze it so you could advance the quest and not let your opponent have it. Like, I do not miss those days of the quest mage mirrors. Like, oh goodness, yeah.
So you don't do scammy mana discount things for the most part. It's a lot more fair than the Incanters Flow versions, where you were pretty reliant on Incanters Flow. Honestly, I feel like the quest reward could be +3 spell damage again, and it would be fine. But there's certain things that just aren't going to get unnerfed because they're not going to bother, right? Like I was thinking about in Wild, there's like Small Time Buccaneer is a 1-mana 1/1 that gets +2 attack if you have a weapon equipped. That could probably go back to being a 1/2, and it would not seriously affect things. But like, why would they bother to go back and revert that nerf? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the mage quest would be relevant in Wild, and it could be a thing in Standard, but the sentiment is not worth exploring again. And if we're talking about a quest that could be unnerfed without hurting anybody, Shaman, unlock the overload. Give me back quest, Shaman. It ain't hurting nobody. We don't have Lightning Bloom. It'll be fine. But they probably won't, because buffing quests at this point in their life cycle, I would be extremely surprised if it's something they decide to do. Sentiment just isn't there at that point that this is something that people want. They want people to build with different stuff. I think that Shaman easily could be unnerfed without there being a problem. But they probably won't.
In terms of life stuff, I missed last week because I was in DC taking care of my nephew, which is going to be my full-time job for a while. And on the one hand, that's nice because we will be almost doubling our household income for that. But on the other hand, of course, I will have far less free time. So
yes,
you just have to join the ranks of the day jobbers with the rest of us, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll have to stream evenings and figure out how to make that work while also getting up at 7 a.m.
Welcome to coffee. That's what we do.
Yeah. You do get used to it. I will tell you that much.
I have like this energy supplement thing. I don't know. It's a powder that you mix in with water. And like, that's what I'll do because coffee upsets my stomach.
Well, I hope the magic energy powder works out. But Steve, I'm going to contest, I have never been used to 7 a.m. my entire life, and I have held this day job for 15 years.
Well,
Some of us just get jobs that work at night.
Yeah, your day job is not exactly during the day entirely, so that's a little bit different, but
I mean, it is, except when it isn't.
it's partially during the day, you know.
Yeah. So, actually, let me talk about last week. Also, just in case anyone is hearing crickets, there's a really noisy family of crickets that has been displaced due to construction in the area. Like, they hit negative 40 dB over here. I have to filter them out, but you might hear some crickets. It'll happen. So last week I should apologize because I was a bit distracted because there was a work crisis that was brewing basically the entire episode last week. But essentially, after the show ended, I had to get a portable hard drive, drive into Manhattan, find a theater with a specific movie that was supposed to be shipped to my location for a private paid screening on Saturday, copy the 250 gigabyte file over to that hard drive, wait for that, it's about an hour and a half, then drive to my theater, then plug it in, copy it to that server. I drove home while that was copying. I got a couple slices of pizza. There's a pizza place near there that's open till 5. So, got a couple slices, you know. Got home around 4:45. The file was done, so I was able to transfer it to the projector, and the movie played. I took work off on Saturday, don't worry. But basically, that day, I had work at 10 a.m. that morning, and then also I worked until 5 a.m. that night, so it just happens. But outside of that, which was rather unpleasant, what has been pleasant has been Hearthstone, especially after the patch, because they changed a lot of the things that I didn't like, and they added diversity, and most importantly, you can smork again. This is a smork meta. This is a one-drop meta. I am here for it. You were talking about in Rage Warrior earlier. Just to caveat, this is not a tier 1 deck, this is a tier fun deck. It's like high 40% win rate, like 48, 49, whatever. Playable, it's fine. The biggest buff to this deck was the nerf to Starfish. But sometimes you get games that look like this. I talked about this in the Angry Chicken. I'm talking about this everywhere that anybody lets me. And in this place, I run OBS, so my co-host literally can't stop me. And for those that aren't able to watch, that is a turn 6, 22-27 Crooked Cook alongside 4-3 Extractor, 4-3 Dredger Staff, 3-1 Dredger Staff, and a 4-6 Whirling Combatant. As you might have guessed, I got Blizzarded and Whirling Combatanted on my Anima Extractor, so my Crooked Cook was big. Big Crooked Cook. So, yeah, that was, it's a fun deck. I got Legend with Empty Hand Aggro DH, which you can do now. You can just throw stuff out there and hit people in the face and play Battle Fiends and Bibliomites and whatever and just smack people around, and it's very, very entertaining. I have played a bunch of Crixis? What's the plural of the 4-mana 7?
Crixis.
Crixis.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's Edelweiss just sent us a DM in the show chat about burgers, and so of course I stopped what I was doing.
That was me because the
you.
first thing I thought when I saw a gigantic cook is a gigantic hamburger, so
okay,
that's why I put that in the chat.
I dig that.
Yeah,
this is all marked out. You'll be fine. Just drag and cut. So sometimes you do Magnifying Glaive into Crixus Swing, and it's gross. But also, there were so many times where my opponent would be at 10, and I had a Crixus in play and nothing in hand. It's like, what do you do, buddy? You want to clear it? Think I won't draw any damage from my Demon Hunter deck? Or you want to let it live? What do you want to do? A couple times that I got I got dealt with some other annoying way, like a Wind Chill or whatever. But even if it gets like Righteous Defensed, I'll just trade it and then draw 3. That's fine. So the deck is able to just play so many good 1-drops, and you're able to attack people with it. I went 12-2 with it to Legend in, I think, a total of under 2 hours of game time. Because the games are just, by about turn 6, turn 7, whatever's going to happen that game. You're capable of top-decking damage, but you also just put out a ton of stats early. I bullied a ton of Relic Demon Hunters, which I agree is kind of not great. I played a bunch of Naga Priest. That deck's still awesome. One of the better ones in the game. They buffed it. Thanks, school teacher. I missed you. You can do all sorts of stuff right now. So I've been really enjoying that, and I'm still playing BGs all the time. I'm around 6,500 now, which is, I think, the highest I've been in a while. I've definitely hit a wall again because I got over 6K to 65 and I was really excited. And then I bottom forward 7 games in a row last night, and that wasn't ideal. It was late. I was tired. I probably was playing poorly, but also I was getting destroyed. So I'm sure I have more to learn. But it has been engaging in a way that I didn't anticipate sustainably. So now I have to figure out how do I fit 2 modes into my life. And I don't really have a great answer for that, but it's a good problem to have. So it's also amazing that BG's the quest mechanic is so fundamental to the mode and is entirely balanceable server side. So they've balanced it like 3 times already without a download or a patch. They can just do whatever they want whenever they want to, just like tweak that up 1 thing, tweak that down 1 armor tier, whatever they want to do. It's pretty cool that they can just make it dynamic.
It's probably a pretty safe change to make too, because you're just typing in like 1 number,
it's
into,
a server-side variable. Like
you're
just changing a server-side variable, and then you press go, and then the servers just do it.
Yeah, I bet they even have like a config file, so they don't even have to check in any code. They just, change the config file, and they're good.
Yeah. I trust you. I don't do this stuff, and I know you do. But yeah, the vibe that I get is that it is very easy for them to change this non-destructively without any risk whenever they want. They're basically changing a static variable, and the game just checks it whenever the server starts. I don't know how it works, but I know that it's easy and fast because they've done it like 3 times now. So I think that's pretty cool. They're able to balance that fast, but it's all subtle nudges that it doesn't change what's in the game. It doesn't feel like things are churning that I have to relearn stuff. It's just the things that are too good get further away, and the things that are not too good get closer. It just works out.
Yeah. And then they can actually balance the heroes better because there's more impact to changing an armor tier.
Yes.
Because the armor tier also affects the quest difficulty. So like they have that in their toolbox too. Because like they always had the armor tier, or not always, but they had the armor tier for a while. But that only did so much. I mean, giving you 4 or 5 extra health, like it's not insignificant, but it only did so much. But now when you're also affecting like how long it takes you to finish a quest, to balance out how powerful the hero power is, that's a pretty compelling combination.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it is even a discussion of do you pick higher number armor heroes just because you will get an easier quest reward. Against, in some ways, it almost becomes, this hero power kind of doesn't matter, but the hero power is actually get your quest faster. And so when they talked about, hey, we're going to be balancing heroes as well as possible, and we all kind of scoffed, I feel like they just have more tools at their disposal and things are much closer. I don't even really care if I get a bad hero now, as long as I get decent quest options. I mean, sometimes I forget I even have a hero power because I'm just so focused on the quest and doing stuff with that I'm just like, it doesn't matter. In some respects, Patchwork was kind of great for that because you literally don't have a hero power. You just have more health.
Yeah. Or AFK. You just get, you don't have to think about it after the first couple turns. And and like I used to remember, I would, every time I would pick Jiraxis, I would never get offered demons. Like it would just happen. Like it would just never give me demons in the shop. And now it could do that. And I mean, I'd probably be a little annoyed, but you're not completely screwed if that happens, because like you don't have a hero power and everybody else does, because your quest can compensate for your hero power. So it is a big improvement to making it a little bit easier, to the point where I haven't bought the Tavern Pass, half because I was waiting to see what would happen as far as how much, if I kept playing as much BGs when the new TFT mid-set came out. Spoiler, I didn't. But also, I didn't really feel like I needed it because I didn't feel like I was like that far behind when I was playing a lot. Like I felt like, yeah, okay, there's only 2 heroes, but I can probably make one of them work as long as I get a good quest out of it.
And there are heroes that have 7 to 10 armor in the tier 7 group that are at the absolute bottom. Cthulhu, for example, is 3rd from the bottom overall. One of the worst heroes in the game. Gets 7 to 10 armor, the most armor possible. But one of the best heroes in the game, one of the top 10, oddly enough, or top, what is this, 12th place, Arana Starseeker, with the re-rolling thing.
Oh, yeah.
She has the same amount of armor, and she's one of the better heroes in the game. Whereas if you look at the heroes that get no armor, one of them, Ysera, best hero in the game. One of them, Patchwork, one of the worst heroes in the game. And Patchwork was much better when he also had armor, but they took away all of his armor, so he just has, more health, but nothing else going on. Quests are slower. Now, just not worth really taking anymore. It's fascinating to see how the armor tier by itself is not enough, but it's a consideration, and depending on the choices that you have, it just... So, to talk about another roguelike game that I enjoy, because quests are roguelike, the game director for Hades, he did a podcast interview a couple years after the game came out, and said that one of his proudest accomplishments with the game is that players that had been playing the game for 2 years would look at a boon selection screen with 3 options and pause and think about it. And that 2 years in, when you have all this experience and knowledge, and you still have to sit there and think about it for a second, that's a good sign. And I think that quests and BGs could have that kind of concept of there are so many dynamic variables that there might not be an objectively correct choice, or at least not one that you can suss out in the moment. It might be a question of fractions of a percent. And I think that's a really, really good sign. The finance and structure stuff notwithstanding, the gameplay element of this BG's patch seems to be pretty universally received, and I have played more BGs than I have in a very, very long time.
And the fact that they hit on it this early too, right? Like sometimes it takes a little while to tweak the numbers, but even and some of them were clearly, poorly balanced at first, or, not even poorly balanced, but just out of whack compared to everything else. But even then it still felt good, and they've been, refining it and refining it. So it's pretty impressive that they basically nailed it on the first try.
And speaking of all that refinement and changes, should we get into the newest ones?
Should we segue? Why, yes, we should.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So, they just did a patch. Server-side, Battlegrounds, balance patch. That thing that we said they could do, they did it. So, 24.2.3, there's a lot of changes in BGs. I'm not going to tell you all the armor tier changes. I'm not going to tell you all the quest changes. There are some quests that were made a little harder to do, some that were made a little easier, both in terms of their base form and the reward pairing dynamically. Just the one that I'll call out, Unmask the Culprit, which was loser tie X combats. They nudged that one down a little bit. I got a reward the other day where I had to loser tie 5 combats. Guess what? The turn I cleared that quest was also the turn that I died.
Yeah, I was going to say, your reward is in the next world, is where that reward is.
My princess was indeed in another castle. Yeah, didn't work out. So they nudged that down, which I think is probably a good idea. As well as the one where you have to order your minions from lowest to highest for X combats. They did return Brucon, Tavish, Finley, and Master Wind to the hero pool. They're all quite popular and, for the most part, seem to be pretty powerful right now. They were removed because it was suspected that they were a part of creating the lobby jail disconnects that we talked about a couple weeks back, and that came up in Lobby Legends, unfortunately. But since in the past week, I have heard a lot fewer reports of this. I'm not sure if they figured it out or what, but they're back, so I guess it's fine. Yeah. They also made a bunch of arena adjustments, vague hand wave, micro adjustments, blah, blah, draft appearance, blah, blah. High-performing classes better, low-performing classes... Or no, high-performing classes worse, low-performing classes better. Balance stuff. And then also some bug fixes. Remember, this is server-side, so... Like we said, you're not going to get the exclamation point yet. It's coming with the mini set, which may be soon, but wasn't yesterday. They fixed some Remornia disconnects. Baby Crush will now lose stealth, even if the Devil Soar attacks and kills the target. And the Baby Crush doesn't have to attack, which is probably a good thing, because it was just kind of a farming mechanism where you would get infinite baby crushes, or like infinite crush attacks. So now the minion can actually get hit. They fixed a bug with the Dark Moon prize where it didn't work with Denathrius properly. I guess the proper way it works now, my understanding, is that it overwrites the quest that you choose on turn 1. So probably never do this, but it does work now. So that's good. There was a duels bug with Potion of Sparking, where it was doing 0 damage instead of 1 damage. Fixed it. And also, they fixed a bug. Matt London tweeted that he made a unique copy of Dawngrass pre-nerf hero power because it was only doable with the +2 honorable kill, and they nerfed it. And he hooked up
in Book of Mercenaries.
In Book of Mercenaries, and he hooked up the wrong one. So he didn't hook up the copy that he made that was intended for that puzzle. He just hooked up the nerfed one. So that was fixed. He also had a really nice thread, just reflecting on the journey through Book of Mercenaries, and I thought it was pleasant. What a nice fella. So, not a huge impact overall outside of BG's nudges and arena, but the BG's nudges were significant. There are also Liadrin and Kael'thas portraits in the shop. Edelweiss, how long did it take you to buy this Liadrin portrait?
A day? I don't know.
That's pretty good restraint.
Actually, you know what? So a funny thing happened, actually. I think I haven't gotten it yet. But that's because what happened is I clicked on it. I clicked purchase. It said, you don't have enough runestones. I got the runestones, and I forgot to get the portrait. So I'll do that the next time I log into the client. But I think that's going to be a common mistake for people, is to be like, cool, I got the thing. Wait, no, I got the runestones for the thing. I haven't actually got the thing yet. So if that is you, keep in mind, you haven't bought the thing yet.
Yeah, it's just less convenient.
Yeah.
Like, not a huge deal, but not nothing. Well, I'm glad you got it. You look cool. I keep forgetting the page down button. Makes me scroll my images. In addition, there was a survey that went out about Battlegrounds. It was somewhat controversial. The survey was, well, it was long. It's a marketing survey about Battlegrounds, the Battle Pass. There were some mentions of runestones. And there were a couple of answers on here that, if you were in the frame of mind to think that Blizzard was making a bunch of tone-deaf mistakes, there were a bunch of answers in here that seemed like tone-deaf mistakes. In particular, I'll read one question. You said you haven't purchased the Battleground Season Pass yet. Which of the following best describes why you haven't? I'm going to read these in order, but keep in mind they are random order. But there's a screenshot from RDU's tweet. This is the order they came through. I've heard bad things about it from streamers and or content creators. I don't like the cosmetic offerings. I've heard bad things about it from forums and articles, etc. I don't like the changes made from perks. I don't find enough value in the Season Pass. I've heard bad things about it from friends and family. I don't want to support this game or company. I didn't realize there was a new Season Pass. I don't want to spend that much. If you were a content creator, and you feel like it was a mistake to do this, and that Blizzard has done the pay-to-win competitive wall thing that we've all talked about, and you got the survey, and you read that as the first answer of, I've heard bad things about it from streamers or content creators, it is not too hard to jump to the conclusion of, this didn't do well and they're blaming me for it. It is not too hard to jump to that conclusion. I don't think that's what's happening here. I would be surprised if it was. But it was clumsily worded, at best. Regis Kilbin made an excellent 25-minute video about this. It turns out he was in a doctorate program for making marketing surveys. So, he is nearly a survey doctor. If you want to get more specifics on it, you should listen to him about it. Because he was going to write a dissertation on doing surveys like this. There's also a long Reddit post about it from another marketing professional. Basically, the fears here from Regis are that this kind of question guides the answers that people are willing to arrive on themselves for what kind of content they're willing to make. If you think that being a negative influence as a content creator is going to be something that Blizzard Corporate notices, and you want more opportunities, you want theory crafting, stream invites, you want preview cards, whatever, it's entirely possible this could lead you to be a little bit more guarded with your language. However, attribution is not blame. It is entirely possible that if this answer is picked, that it's content creators that led this influence, maybe the community team gets to go to business and say, we told you so. You should have listened to us so we can actually make this go over a little bit better. And they get more power. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know the reason they didn't say, because I don't want a competitive advantage being paywalled, the reason that was not a question that was asked is because Blizzard's not going to change that. So you don't ask a question when you don't care about the answer. So it was a fairly involved survey. There were a lot of questions on it, including like feelings about the competitive impact of the pass. Questions about runestones, including, do you feel that you understand why Hearthstone implemented runestones, was a question. And it was a yes or no question, which I find very interesting. There was some leading language. There was some clumsy language here. All things considered, it's a marketing survey. It's written by marketing people, not by the community team, not by the designers, by business and marketing to figure out what do we do with the next version of the Battle Pass. Should have given community a heads up. The room was already kind of hot, and they made it hotter. But it's, I'm going to say, it's from people that aren't all that connected to the social media atmosphere of highly engaged players. This is being sent to all kinds of players just to figure out what do we do next and what are people doing now and to get a big cross-section.
Yeah. And then this may have been something that would have gone out regardless of whether there was controversy or not, right?
Probably.
People joke about small indie game company, saying that sarcastically, but like the people who are writing the surveys are very likely not, tuned into what's going on with the game in general, right? And so they were asked to do a task, and they wrote a survey. Should that have probably been passed by somebody in the Hearthstone team first? Yeah, probably. But it's also, there's a lot of projection here and a lot of assumptions being read into this. And, they sent out a number of surveys over the past couple weeks. There's a separate one that we heard about in the Discord today. I got one a couple of weeks ago, right after we finished recording the podcast. That was on a completely separate topic too. So they're just sending out a bunch of surveys. The other way to look at this is that, they need to understand how people feel without just giving the attributions to the loudest voices in the room, right? Like, if you're listening just to what's on social media, like that's we are a small sliver of the Hearthstone community. So that's why they're doing this. And, did they do it poorly? Yeah, probably. But it doesn't mean that they're, even necessarily trying to, throw blame at how it went or whatever. It may have just already been planned.
And another thing as well with that survey is, so the screenshot happens to have the option of you heard about it from streamers and content creators at the top, which makes it feel very like this is the number one thing, when in fact that was randomized. So that particular instance of the survey had it in that order, but other people seeing the same question, the options may be in a different order. Like, it's randomized what order the options are going to appear in.
Yeah. And if you said you did buy it, then it asked you the opposite questions, including, I heard good things from streamers or people in the community.
Right.
Right. So, because I know that I saw that screenshot floating around at one point. I can't find it now, but I did see that because this was like a branching path after it asked you if you bought it or not. So, but the person who says they haven't bought it doesn't see that part. They only see the part where they didn't buy it.
I think that the missteps here are the timing of the release of this and not having someone vet the language, because the language was awkward at best, confusing in many cases, and how marketing surveys have to be written is you can be a doctor in this stuff, which I didn't know about, but it's very precise because you have to avoid certain sentiments, and also you don't want to ask questions that are too direct if the answers don't mean anything to you. Because if people are just going to say, I wish you hadn't changed this, that doesn't help me do anything. That doesn't inform any behavior if I changed it because I had a business need for it. So I am sure there's a reason it's written the way it is, but I think that some of the execution could have been adjusted. In addition, Alkali had to respond, chose to respond. Probably a good idea. I'll just read this out loud. Hey, Hearthstone community, we're seeing lots of discussion about a survey that went out. Eep, we hear you loud and clear. 2 things. 1, no offense to streamers. We value your influence, or we wouldn't even consider asking players if they've heard about something from you. 2, the I don't like the changes from perks could have been worded better. We'll work on that. It's important that you feel heard. Okay. It's Alkali's job is to deal with the messes that business makes. That is what the community team does, and they have had a challenging job lately. I think that it is perfectly reasonable as well for people to not assume that Blizzard is going to make good choices business-wise right now, even if many of the choices here in the Hearthstone world, like, you can follow the logic as to where they came from and where they go to. But also, Blizzard as a corporation has rather publicly not always made great business decisions, and that's been very visible in the past couple years. So most of the bad faith readings of these questions come with the attached assumption that Blizzard will make a poor decision based on the results. I don't think that, but I can see how some people would. I don't think it's that hard of a conclusion to reach either.
I mean, my personal philosophy in general is just to go through situations with the assumption that people generally want to do a good job at whatever it is that they're doing, right? That generally people, corporate, like Bobby Kotick aside, I suppose, but like, most people who are down at like the individual contributor level, they just want to do a good job. And if something is like this, typically somebody made a mistake and they probably want to have that back. But it's also, unless and until you're proven that there's bad faith involved, it's probably best to just kind of assume that it was a mistake and move on,
And even then, I don't know how much of a mistake it was if you look outside of the streamer bubble. And I have seen also some conjecture that the reason they're asking this is that the perks didn't sell well and they're trying to blame someone. And I don't have sales data, but I would assume that the Battlegrounds perks this season is the single most profitable thing Blizzard has ever done in Hearthstone. I assume that it set a sales record the day it went live. In the grand scheme of things, the backlash faded off pretty quickly. At least from what I've seen, there's some lingering stuff, but like every streamer just instantly bought it and then lived their life. So
yeah.
I would assume that it is not a failure, quite the opposite, and this is more a question of direction and details. And I would be hard-pressed to assume that the perks failed, because you know how much money BG's was making before? Nothing. Cosmetic sales. So, nothing. You know how much it's making now? Probably more than nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they could have implemented it differently. It wouldn't have mattered if you looked at what happened with the Overwatch 2 leak that they ended up having to confirm today. Like it's the same sort of thing where you can earn all the heroes, but the heroes are on the pass, but it's the free pass. But you can buy the premium pass with coins, but you have to earn that with the same coins you can buy with money, but you can earn them in game, and people are still upset. It doesn't matter. Like whenever you're asking people for money for anything that they previously didn't have to pay money for before, people are going to be upset. But at the end of the day, they either will buy it or they won't. And whatever, anyone who's paying for both Battlegrounds wasn't paying for it before.
It's Blizzard they no longer have the nostalgia benefit of the doubt, and in fact they have quite the opposite now, where everything they do is going to be critically analyzed with a fine-tooth comb. And I'm not going to say they have always made good decisions and just gotten a bad rap. I think that would be inaccurate. But I would say that Blizzard putting characters on a battle pass the same way that like Valorant and Apex do, I know that Overwatch's a little different. But this is just the state of the games industry now, and there are not too many live service games out there without battle passes where you can spend either your time, your money, or both. So, I'm unsurprised that the Overwatch 2 stuff has some backlash, and really that whole project seems rather, what's the word I'm
Beleaguered?
looking for? Yeah, that's a good one. Good word, Steve. Yes, beleaguered. It looks that was good. I like that. So I think that there's gonna be some controversy all the way through the release and review and all that. Like, they may very well have killed Overwatch. Also, Mr. Kerfluffle in chat is saying cursed. That's probably not far off either. So we'll see. These players need a lot to turn around after how fitful the development of the game has been, so I'm unsurprised. But we're not an Overwatch 2 podcast, we're a Hearthstone podcast. So, Speaking of competing, I put my pictures in the wrong order. Speaking of competing, hey, you know what we are going to have next year? Hearthstone esports. People were concerned because we had this giant gap this year, and then we have the World Championships in December. YouTube contract is up. ESL contract is up. What's next? We weren't sure. Well, we still aren't sure, but we know there's going to be something. To quote Abar, who, by the way, he's on vacation until Tuesday, so just chill. But we do have a tweet from him. To be clear, I don't get to decide when this kind of information is shared, even if I share it from my personal account. That being said, I have been approved to say that Hearthstone esports will exist next year, and yes, that will include a World Championship. Cool. We don't know what that's going to be. Like, maybe there's one qualifier for it, and it's just one guy in a computer running it, and there are 16 slots, and that's it. I don't know. Probably going to be pretty close to the system we have now. I imagine Lobby Legends will get more money because they shut down GM to do that. There will probably be Masters Tours. Maybe online, maybe offline. Depends on their budget. If they get a lot more money, they'll be offline. If they don't, probably online. So I'm betting online because running events in person is incredibly expensive and challenging. Not to say that online is easy, but
they did have an agreement with DreamHack right before the pandemic, where they were going to host back when they were going to have the Masters Tours still at lands. That might come back potentially. You know, now that DreamHacks are starting to come back, there's always a possibility of that. But I mean, as long as they're doing something, that's pretty much all people wanted to know. You know, like, and that's like enough, right? Because like this is kind of the point where there's one more Masters Tour, and then there's seasonals and Worlds for the rest of the year in Constructed. And there's no more qualifiers. There's nothing else to do outside of third-party events. So it is kind of important for players to kind of figure out their next move. There are some, like, I believe Fled announced his retirement at the end of Grandmasters. I'm sure there's a few other players who have, you know, decided to hang it up as well without that system. But knowing that there will be something at least is enough to keep a number of players playing, whereas they might have had to consider what their other options are otherwise.
It's there's something.
Yep.
So
I won't delete all my code yet.
That's good. Yeah. Oh yeah. Dashboards, stuff like that. You do stuff.
I haven't had to run that in a while because there just haven't been qualifiers or a Masters Tour or anything. So
more like
I'm
a
sure that
stand board instead of a dash board.
I see what you did there.
I'm just keeping fingers crossed because I hope to do more casting stuff. I still don't know if
you
I
cast.
will get
Man,
more
you
casting
both do
things.
stuff. What's up with that?
It's almost like we're a podcast about competitive Hearthstone.
We do that. We do that. It's true. Also, breaking news: the official Hearthstone account just wished Edelweiss a happy birthday. Very important. That's pretty cool.
It is very fun, yes.
Okay. The Wild Heroic Brawliseum is live. So, Heroic Brawliseums, for those of you that don't know, it is 1,000 gold or $10. Wait, 1,000 gold or 1,000 rune stones to enter. And if you're asking, should I enter this? Probably not. The only people that should enter this are the people that didn't ask, and then I told them not to enter it, and then they did it anyways. If that's you, Edelweiss, go play as much as you want. You go ahead. You go nuts. If you feel like tournament-style Hearthstone, this is as close as you're going to get. There's an entry fee. There are prizes. It's asynchronous. It's a nice thing for a tournament. This would be, if I were in charge of in-client tournament stuff, I would just make things of these that fed into a larger event. Eternal, the video game Eternal, used to do that, where there would be a siloed queue for a weekend. The first 20 games you played counted towards it, and the best X records cut to an event the following weekend. I think that was a nice system, for example. This is pretty close to that. However, it is bad value unless you're expecting to do really, really well. It is wild, so you have to kind of know what you're doing. And the deeper you get into the wild queues, the more you will run into people that like taking a whole bunch of turns in order, which is something that's allowed in that format. For those of you unaware of how Quest Mage works in that format, no, it is not the spell damage quest. It is, they will ice block you 2 to 3 times. Then they will play Time Warp, the quest reward that takes another turn. Then they will play Bran and Grey Sage Parrot and take 2 more turns. And then they will Potion of Illusion. And I haven't done the math, but you're gonna die. And it takes a while. So you will see a bunch of that at the high level. Big Priest, Pirate Rogue, whatever. There are a bunch of deck lists being posted on Twitter, a bunch of people winning 12 wins. Luna Love has been just sharking this queue like crazy, among others. But for the vast majority of people, if you don't care about your gold spending, then sure. If you want to play tournament-style Hearthstone, then sure. But the cost here is substantial.
Yeah. The advice is the same as going to a casino, right? Like, set yourself a budget of gold that you don't mind losing, expect you're going to lose it, and enjoy the experience. If you are playing this for the rewards, you are doing it for the wrong reasons. I would expect that most people who are playing this don't need the rewards at the end of it. Probably.
Yes. That is accurate. I was going to say that, if you're doing it for the rewards, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Kind of. I think there are some people who are doing it for the rewards, but that is because they expect that they will get there, and they expect that because they're really, really good, like Luna, as you mentioned. So there are some people who it's like pretty good odds they're going to get, minimum 7 each time, and probably going to get some 10 to 12s. But they don't need the rewards. It's just really nice. And this is how people make golden decks as content creator.
Yeah. Their reward is getting to post a screenshot of a 12-win run on Twitter. That is the actual reward for this.
With a Viper copy of pasta. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say that if you're good enough to win this, you know that you don't even need to know that you are. I think a lot of people think that they are good enough to win this and probably are not. Myself included. I'm saying that I am including myself. I was saying before we started recording the show, I did the standard one, and I effectively did the equivalent of TFT of rolling down on level 7, and I rolled down all my gold until I got to the 2,000 I had left for the mini set. Because I just kept going 3 and 4 wins, and I am often in high legend. So, buyer beware. But if it's worth it for the experience, if you have the gold to spare, as long as you're expecting that you are going to spend that gold and get nothing back in return, or almost nothing back in return.
I'm trying to think of the last time I did a Heroic Brawliseum. I'm pretty sure it was Karazhan Midrange Shaman.
That's a pretty good deck to bring to a Brawliseum.
I had practiced the Mirror, which was easily the worst matchup. And I think I went 8-3 or something like that, long time ago.
You practiced the mirror, so you just played standard for a while?
Yes. Though I will point out, the last month that deck was in standard, I got Legend with Cloaked Huntress Secret Hunter. Because I was tired of mid-range Shaman in One Night in Karazhan because I was a Hearthstone player. And if you went Unleash the Hounds for 6 and just went face with all of them, they usually couldn't catch back up. Because they would always totem up and do whatever, and then you just unleash and you know that impulse that you have. You, Steve, I'm looking at you. That you have where you say, I need to put these into other minions. No. Face. 3 mana deal 6. It's a fireball. You get them. So
see that's when I was playing Kibler's Shadow Form Priest because the hero power would kill totems.
That deck was rad. Shadow Form cost 3 back then. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Yep, it sure did.
Yeah.
And it's
so anyways,
the second one brought it up to 3 damage.
Oh, that's right. The second one was like a spell power boost for your mediocre hero power. You could pay 6 mana for 2 mana, deal 3 damage.
You kids with your Magister Dawngrasp don't know how good you have it now.
Yeah, we used to have to play 3 mana Wildfire.
Oh gosh, that's what that was. That was a 3 mana Wildfire that was conditional. Yeah, oh boy, they don't make cards like they used to, and that's probably for the best. But so anyways, I don't ever do these. Edelweiss loves them. Steve is somewhere in the middle. Just how it is. And finally, the last but perhaps most important piece of news that we have for this week. The mini-set teaser, maybe? I don't know exactly what it is. There's a tweet that went out today. Turns out this case is more twisted than we even thought possible. It is Murloc Holmes talking to Watfin doing the Charlie, bulletin board meme thing from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. If you look closely at it, there is a picture of Sire Denathrius that says, "Not dead?" ? Behind...
Those are actually in Terrabank's hat.
Has in Terrabanks. Thank you, Steve. Behind that is a shadowy portrait. It says Anima Drought, and it's a silhouette that looks surprisingly like Sire Denathrius. And then also there are 5 portraits behind Denathrius that are the card art for the prime suspects from Standard. Pelagos, Stuart, Cecily, Baroness Vash, and Imp King Ratham. They're all behind him. So this looks mini-set-ish, mini-set adjacent. Like we've been talking about for weeks, my personal projection for the mini-set is Tuesday, September 27th, because it's 2 weeks after, it's 4 weeks after the 0.2 patch, 2 weeks after when the balance patch I was expecting it to be, but it turns out they just did it on a Friday instead. Sure, whatever. But September 27th lines up with when they've done this sort of thing in the past. Typically, right when they make Standard the most fun has been all expansion, then about 2 weeks later they drop a bunch of new cards in it and change it again. So, looks like we will be continuing that trend. But we don't have any confirmation yet of what this is, or what the date is, or anything, or if this is the mini-set, or if this is something else. We don't know anything. Just speculation.
And one other data point is that the next Masters Tour is the weekend of October 7th, 8th, and 9th.
So, if it's the weekend of October 7th, let's see here. So, if it comes out Tuesday the 27th, then that means they'll have a week and a half to test the mini-set, and there will not be time to balance it.
Yeah.
So, better hope it's not too broken, because that means... They could do that awful Thursday patch on the 6th, but I don't think they will.
I don't think they'll do that right before Masters Tour. Like, they'll do it on the Tuesday. I don't know that they would do that on the... Yeah, or the Tuesday before if they had to do, something was really broken or they had to do hot fixes, they might do it then, but yeah.
Oh,
well, if they can do it.
Yeah, okay. I was looking at the wrong month. Yeah, so if it comes out the 27th, then yeah, we would have Masters Tour and then get balance after Masters Tour. That sounds right.
Pretty typical in terms of cycles, so I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I don't know if maybe we defer a week and they release the mini-set the 4th and then deckless submission is crazy, but they generally try to aim for a little bit more time if they can. Seems to line up. We'll see what happens. This is all just speculation, but yeah. Quora also responded. And what did she say? I'm going to quote her exactly because it was funny. It wouldn't be a good mystery without a twist, but honestly, we're not very subtle, so if you could just act a little surprised, then that would be nice. You heard her. So yeah. Okay. Hey, that's the news. Let's talk about tournaments real quickly here. We just talked about the Masters Tour, so we'll briefly touch on Lobby Legends. And then we'll let Edelweiss just unleash her wild experiments here in the podcast. Let's go.
It's the grand tournament!
Yeah, so we had Lobby Legends qualifiers over the past week, so we know who our top 16 are going into Lobby Legends Castle Nathria, which takes place the weekend of the 24th and 25th of September. Alutamu Educated Collins, Sese, I guess? Is that how we pronounce that? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Sleepy, Shirusa, Matsuri, Rimgosu, Beater Babbitt, Rupi TD, Penguin San, XQN, Rojo Jine, Eastleaf, Hoff, Lighting, and someone whose name is just Asian character, so I can't pronounce it. I should probably learn how to do that, but and there was apparently some more. You know more about this than I do, Hacks. I know I heard you talking about it on the Angry Chicken last night about this. Another controversy with games that were ending because of a bug.
So Reba Pusa, I believe, who might be the player with the Asian characters. I don't know. I should know this stuff too. Reba Pusa, last Lobby Legends, he lost a lobby because of a Leroy bug, not killing a minion through a Divine Shield. This time around, he was top 3 with the lobby in check and the strongest board, and then lobby jail happened. So they had to regame. So he ended up getting 3rd instead of what was very likely to be a 1st place and checkmate that lobby.
So if it goes into lobby jail, they just freeze everything at that point and then end the game?
Well, you can't get back in the lobby. They regame.
Right. Oh, so he got 3rd in the regame. Okay.
There were 3 more lobbies after that. So he was in the top 3 with easily the strongest board. But then the lobby disconnected, so they had to run another one. He did not win that one, did not win the next one, and somebody else won the tournament. Rimgosu did. He ended up, Reba Pusa got 3rd place. This is what the rules say. It's the only objective way to handle it, and boy, does it suck. I was saying on Angry Chicken yesterday, where we talked about it pretty extensively. If it were up to me, if I were A-Bar, I would look into either sponsors exemption invites to tournaments, if such things were possible, or maybe a special prize payout for someone that has been the victim of bugs on camera multiple events in a row. But either way, it's really unpleasant that this happened. And it just was completely out of the player's control. There was nothing they could do.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you're thinking about the game as the ref, right? Like, if the ref misses a call, then that's what happens, right? Like, if it, I don't know. It's hard because it does suck. But I mean, what do you do other than a regame? It's not like would that we had, replay, like rewind functionality, right? Like I was watching LCS championships this weekend, and there was some sort of a scenario. There was like a bug, like a blue buff got bugged out, and they actually had to like rewind the game 5 minutes, which is apparently a thing that they can do.
What?
Yeah. And so they had a really long pause. And the reason they had the really long pause is because they could actually like rewind the game to like right before the blue buff bug took place and then start over from there. But which is kind of mind blowing that they have that technology.
But it also changes so much because I mean, if a team fight happened, then you've undone that, right? Like, or I don't know. It's just very bizarre. I guess it depends like how quickly they do that. But certainly we don't have a rewind function in Hearthstone. And I think there's always a tendency to want to be like, as the player, oh, well, like he clearly had the strongest board and should have won. So why not just say that player won? But like you just can't make that call as a judge. And particularly with Battlegrounds, where there are some combats where you are just super ultra favored to win. It's like 98%, and somehow they do end up winning. So no matter how far ahead this person may have been, there's still always that chance that they would have lost a key combat and not ended up winning, right? So
It's
doing
Hearthstone.
the regame,
Hearthstone.
doing the regame just resets it for everyone. And as much as it sucks for the person that was in a favorable position before, it is sort of the most fair to everyone.
Decisions are made before the event in the rulebook, and then executed during the event in the objective way that was decided beforehand when no emotions were involved and no specific circumstance were involved. That's why you write a rulebook, so that you can make a good decision out of context and then enforce it in context. They follow the rules. If that wasn't the rule, then they would have done something different, but I think it is the only good rule, because everything else is super subjective, and subjective decisions as to who gets to win tournaments is not what I want to see. So, it sucks. What I really want to see is no server-side disconnects and players winning based on how the game is played, not how the game doesn't work. But, can't have that this time.
Yeah, there's always going to be some sort of errors that happen, right? I mean, either it's a flesh and blood ref who misses something, or it's a game that bugs out, and all you can do is have rules in place to account for them, and then you have to follow them consistently. That's all you can do.
Well, shall we talk about standard again? I think we can do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like I said earlier, we have what, in my opinion, is a bit of a deck builder's paradise kind of meta. Not only is it just totally fresh in terms of the recent balance changes, but it feels like matchups are much closer overall. Druid still has this inevitability end game, but it's slow enough that other things can definitely go under it in a variety of ways. The mage hero power can still get out of control, but scaling at one at a time is a lot harder to just, have a pyroblast hero power than previously. Honestly, I haven't been seeing a ton of spooky mages, but it is noticeable how much worse druid, mage, and rogue are overall.
Rogue seems to have come out kind of the best out of the three. I've seen more Miracle Rogues lately, and that deck was actually, I mean, and that deck was okay before the buff, right? Like, it was being played at the Masters Tour, and it was succeeding.
It was
I
think that
you,
and it was fine in the hands of the world's best players.
right.
But the list is, there's one list with 200 games at Legend in the last week. That's like barely over. Like, we're talking 51-52% on HS Replay on the Dex page.
Oh, it's
Rogue
it's
got
it's
hit
a deck
really
that
hard.
you need to, like, it has no margin for error anymore, right? Like, it was a lot easier to play, and it's going you have to know exactly what you're doing, and if you don't, then you will get punished hard because you just don't have that margin for error anymore. But it's certainly in a better spot. Like Ramp Druid, it's still being played, and it's still okay if it gets the time, but there's just so many more aggressive decks that can get under it now.
Chabo Dennis hit rank 1 Legend with it today.
Yeah. I mean, anybody can hit Legend with anything if they try hard enough, but but it's, and Mage is still, Big Spell Mage seems like it's in a better spot than Spooky Mage, just because, it's less reliant on the hero power and more just like trying to get that early board swing and that early snowball. But yeah, if you don't hit Belinda, or you don't hit an early, an early sorceress, then you're gonna struggle, and you're not really gonna have the hero power to bail you out in those games anymore.
I think most noticeable to me has just been the amount that the board matters right now for multiple decks. There's just so many board-based decks, and the Relic Demon Hunter makes a bunch of really big minions. The Big Spell Mage makes a bunch of dragons. You've got rogues making Death Rattle minions or making minions off of burgled spells, all kinds of stuff. Naga Priest is probably the best deck right now, but just not super played.
Second best. The best deck is Beast Hunter.
Yeah, and it's not close. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
By a lot,
so,
yes. But also very board-based. Like, it's Beast Hunter with 1-drops. I'll read down Diamond through Legend Diamond through Legend last 7 days. HS Replay, top to bottom. Beast Hunter, Naga Priest, Face Hunter, Aggro Druid, Curse Imp Warlock, Non-Curse Imp Warlock, Control Shaman, Big Spell Mage, Bless Priest, Murloc Shaman, and Relic Demon Hunter at 50.28% are all the decks that are above 50% win rate. It actually looks like the hardest hit here overall was... Wait a minute. The hardest... so Spooky Mage, Edwin Rogue, and Ramp Druid are all in the same spot at 49.5%-ish win rate. They're all around the same place. The thing about Rogue and why I feel it actually might have been the hardest hit deck is because this deck list has no room in it to change. You can't refine this to make it better. Spooky Mage and Ramp Druid, there are a lot of different directions you can go. Spooky Mage was the 30-card deck and the 40-card deck. Now it seems to mostly be going towards 30-card version. Ramp Druid, you can get a little bit more defensive. You can nudge some stuff around. Rogue was intending to draw every single card in its deck, and now it just does that, but is way worse at it. And the things that are good now are way better against it. There are so many more Mountain Bears. Do you know how hard it is to Draka through a Mountain Bear? It is very difficult.
It's interesting. There were lists with like Krakatoa and Scabs before.
Yeah.
And I do feel like stuff has kind of slowed down a bit outside of the very particular aggro decks. So I wonder if maybe you do bring back in something like Krakatoa and possibly Scabs to that deck. Or, I don't know, like maybe you even do the boats again, right? Because that has historically been a great way for rogues to like get on the board and kind of apply some pressure, particularly if you can prep boat, that kind of thing. It becomes less and less of that sort of straight up miracle rogue, but if you're less focused on just getting really big sin stones or really big Draco weapons, maybe you go more into something that's still kind of like that, can still have those turns, but a little more stability with just sort of solid plays of prep boat and then having the sunken vessel to dredge up along with a smite or something. I don't know. Like it's a different kind of deck, but sort of in the same vein. Might be able to adapt. But it seems like a lot of people have just switched over to Thief Rogue, which I don't blame anyone for.
Yeah. 30 card, 40 card, seen a lot of it. People are back to their jackpot BS. Back to that. Blood in the Water is seeing some play. It's different. It's interesting. If you see a weird Renathal deck, it's probably a rogue. That's probably what's happening. But, I'm not really sure where this meta is going to end up going, but you were right, Edel. It's super duper board-based in a way that this feels like kind of the platonic ideal of where they wanted the format to go. And in terms of things that can kill you from hand, like, Denathrius is in... You can play him in some builds of Imp Warlock if you want. It's still actually kind of okay in Imp Warlock, even without Kael'thas, which is kind of gross. You can play him in Control Shaman. But otherwise, if you're killing from hand, it's Curses? Is it?
Yeah.
Is that the best way to do damage from hand?
I'm kind of bummed that the best way to do Curse Warlock is the way it is. It is this, you've got Imp early curve in terms of still Flame Imp and the Librarian and location, and I think it has the location, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has the location.
And so you kind of put people on the back foot of like, hey, look, I'm doing these imp things. And then you go, all right, I'm going to draw 5 cards, and now I don't care about the board anymore, even though you're at 23, and they just curse you to death. And so that has become the better curse deck, rather than trying to do sort of control-based things and kill people with curses. I'm like a little disappointed by that, but it does make sense, because the more controlling curse deck is not pressuring you, not forcing you to play cards to give you curses. Whereas the Imp Warlock, like, you are putting stuff out there that needs to be answered, and any damage that you can get in with those early game boards then helps you to get over the finish line with the curses. And so even though it isn't doing necessarily as much in terms of, you're not doing school teacher to maybe get more curses or any of that stuff, like, you still can just put together a lot of curses with, I think it runs Tamsin, and Lady Darkvein was a huge way of getting more curses. Like, there's just enough there that you can run, and then also you just like have answers to things that a regular zoo deck wouldn't have answers to.
And you sometimes need that chip damage just to get you there, right? Because especially like some of the slower decks, like, they can fill up their hand, and then you just don't have enough room to get enough curses in. Sometimes you just don't have enough time to get the curses down. So and sometimes you just don't draw the right. Like, the thing I find with that deck is that there's the imp part and the curse part and the don't die part, and you kind of need the imp part in the beginning and the don't die part in the middle and the curse part at the end, but you get different pieces of it at the wrong time, and then you just kind of sit there. Like, especially if you get you're sitting there with a Vile Library, but you don't draw any imps, like, that's the worst, right? Like, you're just sitting there with this location that just doesn't do anything, especially since the nerf, when it doesn't even give you like the +1/+1. It's so you're just kind of sitting there, and that's when that deck, it feels like it needs all the pieces to arrive at the right time. And if you don't get like a Dreadlich Tamsin to allow you to both get the burst draw and tap without paying life for it. Like, we had a discussion in the Discord yesterday where someone posted a Theatar screenshot as Quest Priest, and they said, what do I take, Darkvein or Dreadlich Tamsin? And we ended up landing on Dreadlich Tamsin because the Darkvein can't kill you if your hand's full.
Oh God.
It's so incredibly foreign to me how to process it, because I said, your Quest Priest, take the Darkvein because that's a bunch of stuff, and you said take the Tamsin because you just keep your own handful and don't do anything, and then their stuff doesn't matter. And I went and took a shower because it just.
And I've had games on both ends of that matchup where that's been the case, right? Like, I've taken their Tamsin and never ended my turn with fewer than 10 cards in my hand. And I was playing the Curse Imp Warlock, and I had a Quest Priest do that to me. And it was just as effective, because like, if their hand is full, and you have Cathedral, you have all kinds of stuff that help you draw, and like Identity Theft to put stuff in your hand and keep your hand full, and you just don't allow them to put more than one curse in your hand at a time, and you never take damage.
Well, anyways, outside of that really dumb scenario, for the most part, Standard is extremely board-based and proactive, and you kind of have to do stuff. The damage from hand stuff, Quest Hunter got nerfed proactively. Thank goodness, because it is also at 49.3% win rate. If it was a turn faster, that would be bad for this format, because there would be a lot of things you just couldn't really do. So, Quest Hunter's worse, Dawn Grasp is worse, and Denathrius, at least in my experience, I mean, most of my games lately have been over by turn 7, but I have seen so few Denathrii. I've seen so few Sires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come up that much.
Yeah.
I think that is because you're playing the shorter games, because I've seen quite a few.
But even
Beast Hunter plays it.
Like, but they're not as big, right? Like, I've died with them in my hand because they just haven't gotten pumped up enough. Yeah. And like, you're not doubling them, and Druid is less prevalent. So like, you could get like sometimes like a 15 damaged Denathrius, but that doesn't usually end the game, especially if your opponent has a board. So then, you're relying on the body to carry you, which is the way that it should work. I mean, we are still seeing more Theatars than I think I would have expected. And I'm had to come around to your idea that maybe they just need to nerf it to convince people to take the 1600 dust more than anything else. Like, not even because it needs a mana adjustment, but just because it's definitely worse than it was before, but it's still there and it's still annoying. And maybe if you just bumped it up by 1 mana to give people the dust discount, they take it and you just have fewer Theatars in the wild. It might not be a terrible idea the next time they do balance changes.
I mean, here's the thing: is the way that Theatar is cost right now. It's just people remember the games where they play Theatar and win, and it doesn't have to be stealing something specifically like Sire Denathrius or whatever. It's often just steal the best card in your opponent's hand and replace it with the worst card in your hand. And sometimes you just get to see the 3 cards that your opponent has, and you were worried they had something, and then you're just like, oh, their hand is garbage, I'm just going to go all in, right? And sometimes it's good in that scenario as well. So every once in a while, my opponent gives me something with Theatar that I kill them with. That does not happen that often. It does occasionally happen. But usually it's just take the best thing I see, give them the worst thing of mine, or the thing of mine that, is going to be least of a problem for me. It is a very interesting card to play with. Like, do I give them something that's garbage for them, but good for me? Or do I give them something that's like kind of good for either of us, but I don't really need right now? For example, as Paladin, do I give my opponent an equality, which is great for me, but also could be great for them? Or do I give them the guy that is lifesteal most of the time, that like gets keywords
Elitist
for...
Snob?
Yeah, Elitist Snob, which is terrible for anyone not playing Paladin, but maybe I need the healing.
Right.
So there's a lot of interesting decisions happening that can end up deciding a game outside of just the very easy, oh, hey, Denathrius, I will steal that. Or, oh, hey, your hero card, I will steal that, is another big one a lot of the time. Which, by the way, if you're playing Thief Rogue and you steal someone's hero, and you play that hero, and then you play Tess.
You play all the rogue cards.
Play all the rogue cards.
Yep. Because you're not a rogue anymore when you change your hero, and so you replay all of your rogue cards. Yes.
Yeah.
It gets very goofy.
Yeah, I forget that whenever I identity theft a hero, and now I'm a warlock, and it's like, and then I play like a Scorpid or something. Like, oh, right, I get warlock spells now. I don't want warlock spells.
The thing about Theatar, like we've talked about it just, people don't have, like, they look for reasons to take it out of their deck instead of reasons to put it in. A nerf to make it less popular would be what I would look for, and one that I expect they will do. That is the most played card in Standard. Theatar is the actual #1 most played card in Standard. They've said in the past, if Ticketus was the most played card in Standard, we would change it. Here we are. They kept it the same because they were afraid that Denathrius would be too good. But at this point, at least that's my assumption. I don't know, but it's my assumption. At this point, I think it is, if it stays this popular, especially through a mini-set release, assuming that's what's coming, just throw mana on it until people stop playing it. At least until people stop playing it in this quantity. Make it a tech card, not a core card. And there's a tweet from Zacko of Vicious Syndicate saying, looking at this card, Theatar, after evaluating every deck, I can say that Theatar got worse after the patch. Several decks should stop running it. The problem is that its perceived power is so high that I doubt logic alone would make its play rate drop. It's too tempting and too memorable when it wins.
Yeah.
Still think it should be nerfed. A card that feels so bad to play against shouldn't be this popular. Very reminiscent of Bad Luck Albatross, and that card was nerfed for being less ubiquitous.
Right.
It serves a purpose, but it's doing so a little too well and catching a lot of other decks in the splash damage right now.
Yeah, and the number of Baran Theatars that you see, it is very upsetting. I do want to shift a little bit, though, just to cover Denathrius. And as you say, I think we've been seeing less. They are less lethal. But I think it's also kind of cool now that Bran Denathrius is special.
Yeah.
That it is like something that
you have to hit a Relic of Dimensions that's crazy, or you have to do, like, you have to play a long Druid game, or you have to do Shaman into Bolner, Makar, whatever.
Right. Like, the classes that get to do it, they get to do it because their class does something unique. And I think that is pretty cool. It does still feel lame against Druid, just because that is sort of the most straightforward one. You just get high enough in mana, and they draw their whole deck, and, like, they still get ludicrous, but they got slower. And it does feel really special now to get to do it in Demon Hunter and Shaman. I am bummed that Kale doesn't get to do its cool things in Shaman, because I think that deck had the most sort of interesting ways of using Kael'thas. It wasn't just for Denathrius, because you would have played a Clownfish and then go turn 6 Kael'thas, 0 mana Murloc, Insatiable Devourer, or something like that for a crazy early swing. But I think if I have to pick between, like, Shamans getting to do that cool thing and everyone just having access to Kael'thas, Brand, and Denathrius, I think this is the better choice for sure.
I mean, Kael'thas had its one day in the sun in Quest Priest after the nerf.
Oh, God.
It's like one screenshot. It had one screenshot, and that was
that
was
screenshot
nothing.
lasted a day. That we got some mileage out of that screenshot, but yeah.
Thanks, Rami. So yeah, I mean, overall, looking at winners and losers of the patch, I mean, Warlock did get better, Shaman did get better. We know Druid, Mage, and Rogue got worse. I will point out, Demon Hunter got better. Relic DH is barely a 50% deck, but you will run into some people that are like, I'm crushing with this, easy climb to legend, and other people who played it, it's like, it beats itself more than it beats the other person. Steve, that was your experience. Hi.
Yes.
And overall, the Demon Hunter decks are all hovering around that 50% win rate. None of them look like crazy outliers right now. My personal favorite, to the surprise of nobody, is the really aggressive one, which is good enough. But it doesn't beat Mountain Bears, and it doesn't beat Boon of the Ascended. And so if you're running into a lot of those, then you should do something else. But I wasn't. I was running into a lot of Relic Demon Hunters, so I farmed them, and I was fine.
Yeah. No, and then I have been still playing a whole bunch of Paladin, because no one else will. And, you know, I enjoy it a lot. I think the Countess is still the coolest one. I think that is the deck that I would most love to see Theatar nerfed for, because the Countess is just so fun, especially when you get to Bran. And now I feel like I probably just need to Countess as soon as possible, because otherwise Theatar. Like, I don't get to wait for Bran Countess. But it can do some really crazy things. Sometimes you get invitations where you pick up Sivara to get even more invitations, or you pick up Kragwa the Frog for more invitations. Like, there's some really sweet stuff to kind of get the chain going, or barring that, just playing stuff for 0 mana when you get to discover the thing leaves some really game-breaking opportunities, like Remornia, Divine Toll, Garden's Grace. You know, they're just silly stuff. And yeah, I enjoy that a lot, but it does in other instances feel really rough to play Countess, because it's such a Theatar, okay, let me take the Countess. And I can win without doing that, but there are certain decks where I do need the Countess to sort of have enough stuff to get there. and when it gets Theatard, it feels terrible because I don't have, much to fall back on. Also, if a rogue steals the Countess, she just says, "Don't know neutrals in your deck." So they actually can play the Countess and get invitations.
And
which
then
is pretty
replay
spooky.
both invitations and the things they get off them.
Yeah.
Thief rogues should just be illegal. Like, it's just not okay.
That's what they want. They're thieves. They want to exist outside the law. If you make thief rogue illegal, then only rogues will be thief rogues.
But another thing I've been doing was just like an XL paladin with, still has smite. You still get there with Divine Toll, Garden's Grace on, whatever. You've got Righteous Defenses, Great Hall. Like, it's very anti-big minions. And you just want to make something stick and then play Battle Master and 2 to 4 Divine Grace or Garden's Graces and kill them. So
this sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's something about like not wanting to play good cards, like not wanting to hold on to good cards for the right time because it might just get stolen out of your hand. Like that whole calculation just kind of feels bad. I mean, especially, me being the one who plays greedy decks. Like, I get punished more than I should, probably, because I will try to get value out of a card instead of just playing it. Like, I have 10 mana and it's an Athreus that does like 8 damage. And I'm like, well, I should wait until this can do something. And when I really ought to just play it, but then it feels bad that I'm playing it because they might have the card that can take it and then I don't get to use it. Right. And then that's just kind of like, when it happens once in a while, when it's there to counter a specific type of meta, then it's one thing. I think when it's just constantly there, yeah, it does feel bad.
Well, and when I play my Countess Paladin, like, I'm already stretching things by running Bran, but Bran is good enough and good with various things outside of the Countess that it feels worth playing. Like, that's how that deck can end up drawing cards or really refilling. But I can't then also run Theatar and expect to be able to activate the Countess reliably. So it's like this weird kind of drawback for not being able to play it, or it at least feels like one. And certainly for the XL not pure list, I do have Theatar. It's a weird space for sure in terms of whether or not you should put it in your deck. Although, admittedly, if you're playing aggro, it's an easy choice. Just don't put it in. Just kill them.
Yeah.
I love when my opponents play Theatar and then concede while they're in the discover screen. Love that feeling. Big fan. Strongly recommended.
Because they see your whole hand is damaged.
And then nothing, they can take one, whatever, you just make more where that came from. Yeah. I mean,
also the assumption that I have a hand on turn 4 is not always true.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite thing is playing Identity Theft, seeing that their Theatar is in their hand, taking it, and then taking their Theatar with their Theatar. That's my favorite.
In some ways, Steve, we are very different people.
But we can agree on pastrami.
Yes. I'm hungry now.
Yeah, me too.
But we didn't talk about Warrior yet, I don't think, but we alluded to Charge Warrior earlier. You can do Charge Warrior again. I anticipate, as this meta develops, that people will realize, hey, maybe Shield Shatter is okay, actually. The problem is, all this discussion we're having about Theatar? You know what deck really doesn't like to get Theatar'd? Is the deck with 6 combo pieces in hand. So, a little challenging, but Charge Warrior, there are Charge Warrior builds since this patch that are over 50% win rate in HS Replay. Low sample size, but they are over 50% win rate. You can win with Charge Warrior. You can win with Enrage Warrior too if you want to.
You know what's a bigger problem for Charge Warrior than Theatar is Mountain Bear.
Also true.
Because, you try getting that combo through a Mountain Bear, you're going to have a rough time.
Takes a lot of resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, pain in the butt. Boon of the Ascended also, like, a little sketchy, but at least that can be executed. There's Sanguine Depths and Execute in the list, so you can poke through one thing, but Mountain Bear has taunts inside it. So, challenging. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Ruby actually posted, and Ruby is an Asian player that posts a lot of bait-adjacent lists. This seems to be no exception. But while we're earlier today, they posted a list of top 50 Legend with Enrage Warrior that includes the Riot Provoke combo, and that runs double School Teacher. Because you can just do that now. Because you can just put that card in your deck, and it's kind of alright. And it's a decent value, and you get a spell, and you get a couple bodies, and like, you know what, it's alright. This gives me something to do. So it's cool to have things to do. And a lot of different decks have different things they can do now. Your board isn't getting frozen all the time. You don't have to deal with stealth 10-10s and Edwin drawing like 10 cards all the time. Happens sometimes. Sorry, Steve. But not all the time. You know, the things that are good right now seem to be board-focused and largely beatable. And when the two best things are low play rate decks that involve cheap taunt minions, not a bad spot to be in compared to where we were before, with a lot of from-hand damage, a lot of board invalidation, and a lot of less interactive mechanics, like stealth, like charge, like Denathrius, whatever. That's really, really changed in the current makeup of Standard.
Yeah. And I guess I would be bereft if I didn't mention that both Glory and Bunny Hopper have gotten to within top 10 Legend in the past week with Questless Thief Priest.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And you just run all the good cards. You don't have to worry about, you know, I mean, it's a very low curve deck for the most part, because you don't have to worry about keeping a quest curve anymore. And you just run Bran Murloc Holmes and get them, and, you know, use your Magic Hexen to steal their big thing, and, you know, and you got double Ruin. You can brand Theatar if you want to. You run Psychic Conjurer because, you know, that's a card that we're playing in 2022.
Wait. What? 1 mana, 1/1 copy something from the opponent?
Harvester of Envy, baby!
Yeah.
We're harvesting!
Okay.
It's, Tic Tac posted a list that was playing a Light Bomb over the second Shadowward Ruin, rank 30 Legend.
Bunny Hopper got actual rank 1 Legend with it. So.
I mean, look, the thing you mentioned with identity theft, I think comes up more than you might expect, just because it's a solid control deck. You're really good at dealing with a bunch of boards most of the time. And then what people will do is they'll say, okay, well, I'm not going to get there with my board. Let me save this Theatar to steal the quest reward. Well, if they don't have many cards in hand, then you just go identity theft, Theatar your Theatar, boom, and now you're in the clear. Yeah. So,
and this list goes one step further. It counters Theatar by not playing any cards that do anything. So if you Theatar this deck, what do you want? What do you get out of it? There's nothing here.
They can't steal their quest reward if I never play the quest. Genius.
I know that sounds like a joke, listener. Steve was being unironic. That is objectively what you do here. And Theatar, like, if you saw a hand of Clean the Scene, Murazon the Infinite, Venomous Scorpid, what are you doing? What are you gonna do? I guess take the Muro and hope they ever play anything you care about? And then they identity theft you and Muro your Muro with a copy of their original Muro?
That Theatar can't stop me because I can't read.
That's basically it. So yeah, I think ultimately...
It's so weird as well. It like doesn't have many 2s, but I guess relies on finding 2s from the opponent.
Yeah, you just play Second Conjurer 1, you get a 2-drop from your opponent. You're all good. That's
you know what your 2-drop is. Hero power your opponent's face and emote. You have that 2-drop in your opening hand every game.
Yeah.
I think the conclusion to draw here is that this patch has been successful in opening up a wide variety of strategies, no matter how distasteful they may be. Yes, that's a subtweet, Steve. So you can kind of do all sorts of stuff now. Like, you can't play a really bad deck. If you play a Secret Rogue, you're not going to win. It's not because they didn't nerf enough. It's because Secret Rogue is bad. There are some other strategies that you can try and do. Probably won't be good enough. Let me see if I can think of any off the top of my head. Secret Mage. No matter what Ike says on Twitter, you probably shouldn't play Secret Mage. Most Paladin decks, probably shouldn't play them. I am actually curious how Mech Paladin would do in this format. I think it might do okay. There is a 0% chance we will ever have the sample size at any level of competitive play because no one's going to play it. If you remember back in Stormwind, in late Stormwind, there was a period where it was potentially possible that Baron's Rush Warrior would have been okay, and we never found out because no one ever played it. That's what Mech Paladin's going to be like this expansion. I bet it's fine. It's apparently one of 2 bad matchups for Beast Hunter, because you play more annoying taunts with Bubblebot. But it is like the 35th deck on HS Replay.
It can be tough into relics if they get going too quickly, just because their stuff is huge and the clear potential of the location plus Relic of Extinction is pretty nutty for Relic DH.
That does a lot of damage. I've been surprised so many times at how much they can get rid of for so little mana.
Yeah. But in general, it's still really good at keeping its hand full and then buffing a lot of things. You win if you have the weapon for just like lots of hand buffs. You could even throw a copy of the new 3-mana spell, the Service spell, as another, if you want to run double Vindicator and just like make sure you'll always be able to keep the hand full off Radar Detector or Service spell. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't run that many new cards, right? Hardly any, really.
Yeah. You know what? I just kind of went through the Beast Hunter matchups just to see what was out there. Apparently, Murloc Warlock has a 50% win rate, Diamond to Legend.
Well, I know what I'm playing next.
What's the sample size there, Steve?
It doesn't say, so I would imagine not very many.
From what I can see from the popularity tab,
it's 1,513 games since the patch.
Oh.
Murloc Warlock, it looks like since the patch, total is 0.53% of the meta, so out of every 200 games you play overall, 1 person might be playing it. Honestly, more than I expected.
Probably more likely to get the Golden Buddy in Battlegrounds.
I don't know. In that ballpark. And there are a bunch of decks that people are trying that are they're enough to be recognized, but not enough for us to talk about them. Totem Shaman, Quest Paladin, Secret Mage, Prestor Druid, Quest Demon Hunter, Pirate Rogue, Shadow Priest. These are all at the bottom of the popularity chart. They technically exist. We don't have any way of talking about them. But you know what? Go out and make your own stories. You can do what you want right now. Before the mini-set comes out, you can do it. Exactly.
I made a totally flex tape warrior deck with just like a lot of big stuff, and I went on a 3-0 win streak before things started evening out. So like you could win games with whatever you want.
Did you drill a hole in your boat and then we're still able to float it?
Yeah, kind of. Look, from the depths discounts a lot of mana.
It does. Well, while we could just talk about random garbage we've seen in the ladder for a while, I think we can wind down now because, Edelweiss, your cat wants attention. So, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coincanseed.com. You can find our contact info, our show notes, our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. Like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Doja K, Crash, Cat B, Squatch, David P, Fade to Black, Walu, Jeremy T, Bottle Caps, Lucky, and Ponius. Big thanks to the people that subscribed during the show, Little Robotussin, Contag, Forrest Bates, and Doja K with the birthday sub gifts. Thank you so much. Coin Concedes, who's got them? Steve, you ready? You got any?
Yeah, I'm going to coin concede to Delicash, who's streamer friend of mine who doesn't. He only streams like once a week on Sunday afternoon, so he's kind of a little bit hard to catch. But he's good people and deserves to get a little bit more of a following. So coin concede to him.
All right, Edelweiss. You're muted. Your cat muted your mic.
Cat got your tongue?
Ah.
Uh-oh.
This does not appear to be a mute. This appears to be cat-related.
A catastrophe?
Steve, keep going. We can do this all day.
Well, I figure if I keep making bad puns, that'll fix it faster.
Oh, we hear you.
There we go.
No.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh man, that's gonna be. I hope that did not completely wreck the.
The recording writes all. You'll be fine. Is it still recording now?
Okay. Yeah, I had to press record again, but yes.
Okay. Oh, because she unplugged your mic, huh?
Yep.
It'll be fine. Just take this section and move it over.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I would like to coin concede to whoever was running the Play Hearthstone account for deciding to make a note that today was my birthday and then wishing me happy birthday this evening. So,
thank you, Play Hearthstone team. And I'm going to coin concede to the Bread and Butter podcast. They are a brand new podcast. Doc McButt and Tito Santana decided to enter the world of Hearthstone podcasting. So go check them out. They just started. And then Daniel Stormrage Sheldon. He's just a nice guy. I was coin conceding to him because he's a nice fella.
Yeah, he seemed to be having a bit of an existential crisis today about Overwatch. So I hope he works through that.
I coin concede to you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's going to do it. So keep calm and play whatever the hell you want. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede. And wish Edelweiss happy birthday.
coin concede.
Coin concede.
Stopping recording because Edel doesn't need any more stuff to line up.
Yep. Okay.
Cool.
This is 361.
Wait.
It is.
Oh, right. Yeah, 361. Goodness.
Yep. Yeah, because Hat made you take last week off. That's why you have a gap in your number.
Yes.
Are you going to move your setup down to DC?
No, my sister's moving here.
Oh.
Yeah, this was the trial run because she's moving up here.
Right.
Moving up there.
My
Yeah,
whole family is going to be in Cleveland. Again.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, no, preparing for when climate takes the rest of the coast, so.
Oh, great. Where does that leave us?
Look, I'm
Cleveland.
just saying, there's lots of space here. Housing's fine, rent is low.
I would guess that if Coastal City stopped existing, there would be more demand, but we'll cross that bridge or multiple bridges when we come to it.
You could get that, first, what do they call it? First something advantage.
First mover advantage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
I mean,
plausible.
I think I'll take the political climate here as long as it's above water, and then I'll figure out what I'm going to do.
But see, y'all could change the state. It would be great. Yeah. We're working on it.
I'm not going to be a Browns fan. That's
You
too much.
don't have to be a look. I'm not really a Browns fan.
It's
I am deeply impressed with people that are still Browns fans.
that is dedication, is what
Yeah.
that is.
Rod, I think is still a Browns fan. I mean that, and look what it's done to him. You know,
I
so.
see his tweets when they're playing. I don't know if "fan" is the word that I would land on, but he continues to pay attention to the Browns. Yes. For better or worse, whatever the health impact is. But yes, he is a Browns. Again, enthusiast seems like the wrong word because I don't know how enthusiastic he is, but
a Browns attention payer. A Browns attention payer. That's
petitioner.
Petitioner? A beleaguer petitioner?
Yes. Apparently they won a game.
In all seriousness,
that's good.
For a while, they were doing actually reasonably well.
Yeah.
And it was staggering. And then that stopped happening. But
yeah.
They're 1-0 and they're against the Jets this week. They'll be fine.
It's like me being a top 500 legend. You know it's not going to last.
Yeah. I'm just... It wouldn't matter where. I'm just happy that my family are all in the same place.
Yeah. No, like my parents moved up here a few years ago to be closer to the grandkids, and it was a big deal. And it's much better, you know, having them like a 20-minute drive away, you know, and having them be able to help out with the kids occasionally is nice.
Yeah.
You know.
And look, like I mentioned previously, the escape plan exists. If I need to go to Toronto, that's...
You just pile everybody in a minivan and just drive all together then at that point.
I don't think they would be as desperate to leave as me. I think I'm the only one in my side of the family making
yeah, I guess that makes
escape
sense.
plans. You know, I'm the only one who converted, so.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So you have a little bit more motivation, but yeah. I have so much stuff in my basement that I need to box up.
I'm gonna bring the stream down, y'all. So thanks for hanging out.
Not
And
everyone.
Bye.
see you all later.